Hello, friends, and welcome to an Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Lane.
And we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
Wow. That's great.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to be here too, buddy. This is exciting. We're in episode 2, and we're doing the reread.
We're getting into the good stuff.
Yeah, we're here.
Right. Last week you got to know us a little bit. Now we're gonna jump right into Fellowship of the Ring and get her going.
We are. It's going to be epic.
Step out in the open road.
It didn't take us 5 hours to set up today. It took us more like
4 hours.
Four
and a half.
We're getting there. We're working on it.
Ez does a great job. I bust his chaps off the camera.
Right.
But Sticklebats, he does a great job. Great
Thanks,
job.
buddy. Really appreciate
Very
that.
proud of him.
Go ahead.
Ez, you want to do some quick counsel?
Quick counsel, yeah. Quick counsel is just a little segment where we kind of talk about what's going on. No Middle Earth allowed, what's happening in our lives. And Ez had a snow day today.
You did.
Man, I slept in hard.
Can you? Let's talk about the difference, because a lot of adults don't have snow days. What is the difference between a snow day, and I'm sure like half of our listeners probably hate you now because
they do.
don't get
I know
snow
they
days.
do.
I know. So what's a snow day like as an adult compared to a student or kid?
10 times better than when it was as a kid.
Yeah.
10 times better, man. No, it's just
Why
it's
is it
cold
10
out?
times better?
Well,
Yeah.
well, because I don't have to go. I don't have to work.
Right.
So
right.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's great, guys.
Yeah.
That's why you're gonna hate me. I apologize. Lane's also a teacher. He gets snow days too, so you can hate him too.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't going to point that out. I was going to try and keep some people on my side, but
Sorry.
once again,
Slam.
Yeah, of course. It's
So, anyways, that's been my day.
you did some podcasting last night, did you not?
I did. Went kind of nuts. Yeah, we were up to like 1 o'clock in the morning podcasting
With Mike Solo going crazy.
Yep. Rebel
That's
Watch
some
was
good
getting after
times,
it,
baby.
so having
That's some
fun.
good times.
What about you, buddy? What's been going on?
I'm on paternity leave right now, so sick time,
Right.
essentially, is what you have to use. So I'm
Yeah.
with my beautiful wife Sarah and my beautiful daughter Winnie and our gorgeous dog Arwen, just hanging out. Been watching a lot of The Crown.
Yeah.
I know you're not a fan.
No, last time I was here, you guys were starting out.
Oh, dude, it is so addicting.
Was it?
It's a great show. Like I love all things. I'm a bit of a Britophile or Britphile. When you're obsessed with British things, I don't know what the term is, but I'm obsessed with British things. clearly. But I'm not like the royal family thing kind of disgusts me. I don't fundamentally. I find it disturbing, right? Because we're Americans.
Really?
I'm a proud American.
Me too.
I'm not like America, like shoot everyone's head off if you're not like us. But I love our country, beautiful country we live in.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And the whole crown thing is I think it's a very foreign thing to Americans.
Well, that's why it's interesting to you, right? You just like to kind of see.
And I think it's all the drama. It is so dramatic, dude.
Right. Yeah.
Everything. And the other thing too is it's true. They have no personal life.
Right.
Everything is recorded. Everything, even personal letters, they take and they put in these vaults and annals of their families.
Really?
In these castles and stuff. It's insane.
That's
so
pretty cool.
All the drama's real. So it's good. Yeah.
That's cool. I need to find something new on Netflix to watch. So
Plenty out there, baby.
Yeah.
Plenty out there. All right.
All right, man.
That's pretty good. Step
pretty
away
sweet.
from the table of Elrond there.
Yeah, and actually, honestly, even before this podcast started, like we've been talking Middle Earth since I got here. So it is actually nice to kind of break away there for a second.
We feel like people again.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's not really that much fun.
You're right. Let's get back into it.
Right.
Dropping Eves.
Yeah.
Lane did a lot for this, and it's more of just our getting ready for the show.
That's right. We're going to talk show news and kind of all things related to Tolkien going on. So we have a couple things today. We're going to talk about the show news, and then we're also going to talk about a Tolkien biopic that's kind of in development. So some interesting stuff. So if you don't know, Amazon recently acquired the rights for a Lord of the Rings, or really it's a Middle Earth. They're using Lord of the Rings, throwing that term around a lot or the title around a lot for branding purposes because they know it's going to draw people in. But it's a Middle Earth television show. Right. There was a bidding war between Amazon, Netflix, and HBO to get the rights to this. It was actually too rich for HBO's blood. So I'd probably blame Game of Thrones for that. Because that's a pretty big...
well, they've already got a lot going on there.
Right, they do.
Yeah.
And that's a big source for their finances.
Right.
So Amazon won. The price tag is kind of unconfirmed, but the rights alone, I think the number they were throwing around was $250 million just for the rights. Plus, they figure in about they're just estimating a 6-season run for the show would be about another $750 million. So they're calling it the $1 billion purchase. So yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
A lot of coins, a lot of Bitcoin they're throwing around.
A lot of Bitcoin.
So the reason this is going on is because Christopher Tolkien, who was the youngest son of John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, is stepping down as guardian of the Tolkien estate. So
how old is he? Isn't he pretty?
He's 90. He was 93 in August.
Yeah.
So he's an old guy, and he's kind of been he's finished a lot of his father's works. He's edited a lot of his father's works that his father didn't finish. I mean, when Tolkien passed away, he had all this stuff that either wasn't done or wasn't edited because he never stopped writing. He's a machine. So when Tolkien kind of set up his estate to guard the licensing and rights of his works,
because they have to renew that copyright every so often, right? And stuff.
I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know he wanted to protect the way his work was represented, which is very admirable.
Yep.
You could definitely say the Tolkiens are not sellouts. J.R.R. Tolkien had a very distinct vision for how he wanted his story represented, and I think that's definitely applaudable. So anyway, new to leadership now that are open to other interpretations of his works. It's going to be Amazon, HarperCollins, and New Line collaborating. So New Line's the same film company that put out the movies, so there'll be some like overlap there, I think. The only inclination we have of a plot is that it may occur during the 60-year gap between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Nothing's really confirmed. We don't really know a whole lot yet. I think we talked about this last time, but you have a kind of an interesting theory that, because we're just going to speculate on what the show could be about, that we might have a second age setting, which would be pretty sweet, I think.
That would be cool, but that's not, I mean, like a lot of what we're hearing is it's not going to be that, right? I mean,
that's true, but they're also calling it a Lord of the Rings TV show, and it's not really going to be a it's a Middle Earth Tolkien show. So maybe they go with the 60 years in between or whatever between The Hobbit and the Fellowship. If they do that, that's cool. If they do that, I think it'd be kind of neat to see some of the other kingdoms, maybe like how Wormtongue kind of got in there and started to kind of corrupt. Almost like a parallel story to the films?
Well, or just, maybe like what happened right before we get there.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like maybe, kind of like what storytelling in a different part of the, but yet make sure that it's before Gandalf has sort of sent Frodo out the door.
And expand on the less developed characters, maybe the movie.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I don't know. I was just trying to think of what else could they do? What other company or people could they follow Strider? In those, I mean, he's around for all.
He's 87 during the Fellowship. So,
what other adventures did he have?
Right. I mean, he battled with Theoden when Theoden was a king, or a kid. I'm sorry, when he was a child.
Right.
So I fought with his father. So
that would be kind of cool to see him,
a young Strider kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of stuff they could do. I actually really like your idea though. I think because we know the show executives are listening in and
we do
and taking kind of using us for a lead. So, but I actually think a second age show would be sweet, like focusing on, because we never really seen Sauron physically rule.
Right.
So I wanted to point that out because that's an awesome idea.
I think it would be cool. I just unfortunately I've shifted my mindset as to where I think they might go, because I keep hearing a lot of people talk about the 60-year period, and I'm just like, I don't even know.
See, and I can't tell if they're doing that to throw us off, or they're doing that because they're not really sure, or they know that that's what we know and we're comfortable with, and so we would be let's sandwich something between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So that's what's out there right now. We'll just have to see. I would love. It's not going to happen. I would love it to just focus on the Shire. I'm still holding out for my Hobbit dramedy.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, but
that would be cool.
Someday. But here's the cool thing with this show, dude. If this show has success, which I think it will, I mean, they can do other spinoff series. They could expand and do movies that are just available on Amazon.
Right.
I mean, it could be pretty amazing. So yeah, I would love that. I don't know, dude, man. Like a little. Well, after reading this chapter, you're going to find out that staying in the Shire and learning more about the the do's and don'ts and the characters you want to know, the characters you want to stay away from. It could go on forever.
I mean, they could do a show on Old Took.
Yeah, they could
actually just kind of talk about
the Goblin King that he knocked the head. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Right.
The Hobbit War. The Goblin Wars.
That'd be cool.
Right?
Do you know what though? Something that I was reading not too long, and I think it was Christopher Tolkien was talking about how the references and the allusions made in the Lord of the Rings are just allusions back to Tolkien created stories. Really, it's it's whenever he makes like he's not like alluding to other works, I guess, outside of his own. So the stories that the characters talk about or reference, you almost felt like sometimes you should leave those unfinished and leave those untold.
Yeah.
And so I don't want them to do. I almost don't want them to take all of those stories that we've heard about and then go try to tell all those stories. Some of them were meant to be left untold, but maybe you could tell a new story that then even has references to other stories, or maybe even references the same story that we heard.
Right.
I don't know.
I totally agree with you. I think that part of the thing that not ruined, but like I didn't like about the Hobbit films is they did try to do too much. They did try to explain some of those stories that were just alluded to, and they tried to flesh them out when it didn't feel necessary.
Right.
And so, yeah, I agree with that. Leaving some tales unfinished, but looking at those and seeing which ones would work for a TV show and digging into them. That'd be sweet.
Would be.
I have one question. Should we be worried that Amazon won that bidding war? Their entertainment department has been hit or miss. They've got some shows that have been really, really good, some that we don't know about, and mostly I think it's because they're such a huge company, and they do so many different things that I'm worried it might not be publicized, or they might not attract the same kind of cast or director or crew that like Netflix or HBO would have.
Right.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I just don't know.
Yeah, well, people were worried when Netflix started doing this, and then they kind of, they brought in some young talent, and people got to go in there and show what they can do. I hope that they spend the pretty penny to make this good.
And see, it looks like they're going to.
So,
and the one thing I will say is they don't have another like cash cow or show that's gonna suck a lot of funds.
Right.
This will be their Game of Thrones, really. Right. And I think we'll talk about this later at some point. I think if the Lord of the Rings trilogy never happens, the Hobbit films never happen, it's a TV show.
Yeah.
I think, and I almost think you could tell. I think fans who were upset that the films took some liberties and changed things around to make it work in a film format, would like a television show better. Because you could think about how much longer television shows last.
Oh yeah,
the freedom you have, the pacing that's different. You could do a lot more. So I would say, like, if Lord of the Rings was made today, it'd be a TV show. So anyway, but this is going to be Amazon's Game of Thrones type deal.
I think they're going to take care of it. I don't know. Yeah. It would be interesting to see who they get to direct all this stuff and kind of oversee it.
So I have to get a Prime account now. That's great. So,
yeah.
Okay. John Rhys Davies reacted. I saw this on an article and I wanted to share it. He hates the show idea. I think he called it a quote unquote travesty. Essentially believes it is just a cash grab.
Yeah.
And I would say, you know what, John Rhys Davies, all due respect, I love you as Gimli. I love you as an actor, but I don't give a fig what you think about this TV show. Your time in Middle Earth is done. Wow. You did a great job.
Yeah.
And I think if you have that kind of mindset going into this show or anything new that comes along this Tolkien, and what he's doing is he's comparing it to what they did in Lord of the Rings, which is incomparable. You can't do it.
Right.
I think you're setting yourself up to be disappointed. I think if you think, oh, it's gonna suck. It's just a cash grab. That's all it's for. They're going in for some money because they've seen what Game of Thrones can do. And I'm sure there's an element to that. But that's entertainment, babe. I mean, that's anything people make now, they're gonna try and make money off of. So I understand his frustration, but I would like to approach this show with some optimism and some excitement because I think it can be really cool.
No, I'm with you actually because honestly, in Star Wars, the same thing sort of happened with when they decided to go back and do the sequels. It was this is just a cash grab essentially is what they're saying, and I thought they finessed it and did such a good job with how they brought us back through the Force Awakens and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and I thought that showed people that they weren't just trying to make a cash grab, there's a large fan base. This this series has been around for a long time, has a lot of fans. So you got to be careful with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can't just go out there and throw a bunch of garbage out.
Sure.
So and oversaturate it.
Exactly. And I guess that's my one point. So if they're going to go out and it's a great story, you can make as much money on it as you want. I don't care. I'll give you all the money I have for a great Lord of the Rings TV show. So, or at least a Prime account's worth.
Yep.
So we kind of talked about, some of what we'd like to see on the show, and we'll continue that as more news comes out and we get more leaks and stuff like that. We'll share that with you guys, and I'm sure you'll be watching for that too. So the Tolkien biopic is called Tolkien right now.
I hadn't heard about this. This is cool.
Yeah, actually, it was my beautiful mother who told me that this was happening, and she loves biopics. She loves history, and she was like, you might be interested in this. You should share this. So, Mom, thanks for keeping an ear to the ground for me. Nice. It's starring some like decent actors. Nicholas Hoult, or I think that's how Nicholas Hoult. Yeah,
that's right.
He is the Beast in the remake of the X-Men. He's the young Hank McCoy.
Right.
He was in the Mad Max Fury Road movie, and he was Tesla in The Current Road. Awesome actor. Looks like young Tolkien. He'll be great. Lily Collins is cast as Edith, who is the love of Tolkien's life. We've got Craig Roberts, who is in The Fundamentals of Caring, which is on Netflix. Great movie. If you want a really good tearjerker, that's also a great story. Little plug there. And also Submarine. He's playing Sam, who is actually who Samwise the Brave is named after, and was one of his comrades in World War I. And then Colm Meaney, who was in the Star Trek franchise. If you saw his face, you'd recognize him. And he's playing Father Francis Xavier Morgan, who was a huge influence in Tolkien's younger days. It's directed by it's being directed by Dome Karakowski. Karakowski. I don't know. I've never heard of Dome before. I'm sorry, but awesome. It might be Dome. So DK is going to be directing that one. The premise of the film is it's going to chronicle the author's youth, in which his friendship, love, and outcast status at school all lead to the horrors of the trenches of World War I. And that's where his stories were born. Tolkien has a really incredible life story, dealt a lot with like tragic loss again and again and again. So, and I don't think there's been, or at least not a well-known biopic of his that has ever been made. So this will be long overdue, and I think if it's done correctly, it'll be amazing. Yeah.
Did you've read some books on him, right? Some biographies and stuff on him? Yeah. Okay, cool. That'll be, because I haven't done as much study on his life because you recommended a couple to me.
Yeah, Tom Shippey's author. What is it? Author of the Century. I don't know the exact title, but it's What's the author's name? Biography. Tom Shippey. Yeah, okay. It's a great book. We could actually even read that and review that at some point.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It's great. It delves into all aspects of his life.
Well, because you brought up something that we're going to talk here just a little bit during the reread is like the setting, and then the idea. These are things I didn't like. The more I get into this and getting back into Middle Earth and looking up the letters and the things that Tolkien wrote about his stories. It's unbelievable.
Guys, Ezra is lighting up. You didn't see him before. I was trying to have conversations with him, and it was like talking to a brick stove. Brick wall. Cold stove. He's like moments up to the show.
Yeah.
Like not just this past 2 weeks.
I'm just ignoring
months before. He's just minutes up to the show, just right. Are you reading again? What?
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The dude's he's firing on all cylinders, man. I love it.
So there's just so much.
You're getting primo Ez right now.
Oh God,
primo Ez.
Yeah.
So there's no release date.
If you'd leave me alone, I'd be able to get it a lot more done. God,
give me a break, dude.
Jesus,
stepping on my toe there, son.
All right.
So there's no release date. Okay. Ez just made my thing pink.
My bad.
Couldn't really see Google Docs. So there's no release date set for this film, but we'll keep one eye on this project and update you with any progress that comes along. All right.
That's awesome.
That was cool. Thank you for that. That's fun.
Okay, cool. So, that's some good show information. The biopic is going to be cool. We every once in a while, this won't happen every show. We kind of talk about important dates just in Middle Earth and things that are happening around this time that we're recording or the time the show will air.
Speaking of important dates, can I ask you on a date right now?
Sure.
When that Tolkien biopic comes out, let's go watch it together and review it.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Absolutely, we will.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, we'll share our popcorn.
Oh, cherry Coke.
and a cherry Coke.
Gotta be cherry Coke.
Right.
Hey, second breakfast.
Okay.
Sorry,
right,
dates in Middle Earth.
Yeah, you want to go over some of these just important dates that we got January 9th through 12th you have here or something?
Yeah. So these are kind of these dates leading up to this podcast, actually, that you're going to hear. So this is where these are dates in Middle Earth, mostly following the Fellowship. On January 9th through 12th, there's snow on Caradhras. So this is a mountain pass that the Fellowship takes, and they're just getting pummeled with snow.
And I kind of forgot you had mentioned this is a longer, drawn out. We get more details in the book about this.
In the film, it's intense but brief.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the books, it lasts a little bit, like with everything in the books, lasts a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. Then on January 13th, they are coming down from Caradhras, the mountain pass. They're attacked by wolves. Pretty intense. Then the Fellowship reaches the west gate of Moria, and Gollum begins to trail the ring bearer. We should have said, if you haven't read the books at all, I guess disregard that. Don't worry about that. That didn't really happen.
Go ahead and get the last date, and we'll talk about that before we do the reread. Yeah.
And then January 14th, they're in Moria. They made it in. They got away from the Watcher unscathed. Well, scared. Probably some soiled panties, but but they're in Moria. So those are your dates in Middle Earth for the past fortnight.
That's awesome. So Elena brought up an interesting point. As we do this reread, we know there are some of you who have already reached out to us on Facebook and said, never read the book, can't wait to do it. That's going to be awesome. And we're really happy to have you along and excited about that. Some people, I think a couple, maybe one or two, said haven't read the books and haven't seen the
movies. Right.
So I was like, oh man, there will be spoilers in this because we will not be able to hold ourselves back from talking about connections later on and stuff. That would be, I mean, we're going to...
It would handcuff us, wouldn't it?
A little bit, just because there's so many things that we want to... When you go back into this for a reread, essentially, is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You make those extra connections to things that you didn't read necessarily the first or second or third time. So some of you that are reading this the first time, hopefully you've seen the films, and then we're not spoiling a bunch of stuff for you.
Basic plot stuff.
And a lot of times we'll stick right into just the style and the tone that Tolkien takes with this work, but every once in a while we're going to make a couple references, and we won't reference too far ahead. We're not going to all of a sudden flash to the Return of the King and something that happens at the very end of the story. Right. We're not going to do that, but just kind of a disclaimer.
And even if you hear us talking about it, it's one thing to hear us kind of go over it, and then it's something else to read it yourself and to feel that build up within the text, and another thing to even watch it on film. So, even if it might feel like a spoiler or something in the moment, try to just go experience it within the book or within the movie, and I promise it won't disappoint. Right. Because I read Two Towers and Return of the King before seeing the movies, and they like we said last podcast, I told you that was all new to me. So, and I still love the movies. I wasn't disappointed by anything I saw. So, yeah. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Cool beans. So, guess what I just noticed? I got it though. Don't worry. We have an outline. Lynn and I have an outline, and he didn't share it with me until.
Okay. I thought I did.
Right. It's cool.
And it turned out I didn't. So
I wouldn't have been able to get into it anyways because I was doing.
I know. As act like he had all this time. He's on 7 podcasts.
It's
and
ridiculous.
Trying to land a drone on the moon or something. Right. I don't know. The dark side of the moon. Trying to find Vader there. So he wouldn't have had time.
Anyways, so we will have actually our outlines uploaded to Patreon if you want to check those out and just kind of follow along in different things here. And I'll have the summary typed in when we upload it. So just to kind of quickly summarize this chapter, it starts off. We kind of get it's the tie-in between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. We get to learn more about Bilbo. There's a lot of storytelling. It's sort of told by the gaffer. He kind of fills in some of these different things. There's some rumor. And we're building up to Bilbo's birthday, essentially. Yep. And I'll make this short. And then as we kind of move through his birth, there's preparation for the birthday. The party happens. There's a little speech, a joke. And then the next thing you know, we are, Bilbo's out. He's headed on another little adventure. Yeah. And then Frodo cleans up the mess.
Left to pick up the mess. Poor Frodo.
Yeah. Yeah. And Gandalf is a little mystified as to, he's got some things he needs to...
Questions that need answering.
He leaves unexpectedly.
Yes, he does.
So, and this chapter is titled A Long Expected Party.
Which there's some irony in there too, isn't there?
There is.
Pretty cool.
It's really cool.
How he plays with the words.
The tie-in, to The Hobbit chapter 1 is an unexpected party. Which is where we kind of came with the name for our podcast, An Unexpected Podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
So the idea is here that this is long expected, a long awaited, sort of adventure and journey, and it's going to be interesting. Let's dive into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're calling this Filling Up the Corners.
That's right.
Which is a reference.
As hobbits would.
As they would.
That's right, man.
Man, doesn't that feel good to fill up the corners?
I love filling up the corners.
Yeah.
I love it. So filled. So filled.
All right, so we got a couple. We've divided the chapter really into like 4 big pieces here. So we've got.
Ezra, you are an excellent. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to give you a compliment. We'll brush by it. We don't have to.
No, give me a compliment. I want to hear it.
It's cool.
I want to hear it.
That's fine. They don't want to hear us pander to one another. That's okay.
No,
I think you do an excellent job of analyzing stuff. You have an analytical mind.
Wow.
You're a bit anal, I guess you could say.
Wow.
In a good way.
Okay, good.
More attentive. No, you analyze really well. You're able to segment stuff and break stuff up. I get lost sometimes in minutia. Like I fixate on like my scope can be so narrow. But I think that's why we work well together. I mean, I guess we'll see, right?
We'll
see if we do or not. We'll see if we're a good fellowship here. But I believe we are. And
yeah,
I think
me too.
I think you have the broad scope. You're able to see the bigger picture, and I'm able to kind of go in sometimes and like pick apart little tiny, seemingly meaningless things.
Well, because I mean, when I was looking at your
notes, maybe they are meaningless. I don't know.
No, they're not meaningless.
Yeah, they probably are.
Like when I looked at your notes and stuff, I was interested because the way we did this is that Lane took some notes, I took some notes. We kind of did this blind, and we had some overlap, which was awesome. But our style and note taking and how we went through the book is very different.
Totally different.
Yeah,
it gave me a little bit of trepidation. I was a little intimidated. Ezra's coming at it, baby.
I think
like a dragon on a Shire party.
Well, see, that's why I don't think I'd be able to not make references and allude to different parts of the Middle Earth because
it's so interconnected.
I like to see it. Yeah. So,
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to break down the 4 different. We've divided this into fourths. The first fourth is called "Back in the Shire," and rumors 60 years after The Hobbit. And then what we'll do, I'm actually going to just give you all the headings here. Then we'll jump into party planning. Gandalf arrives 12 years later. Then we're going to go to the long expected party, and we'll finish with Bilbo's departure. Okay, so back in the Shire. What a great place to be.
I told you, man. I mean, you knew it too. I guess I reminded myself about how amazing it is to be there. That's why I want a TV show there. It's just like, you just want to spend time there. And I think maybe if you lived in the Shire, it might be kind of annoying because you got a lot of these characters, a lot of rumor millers, but it is just so interesting. The family trees, the importance of family, the characteristics of the different families, just hobbits in general. They're cool little kooky creatures, man.
There's the Shire is more intricate and there's more just going over like 1 or 2 neighborhoods they consider, those should be weird and queer folk over there, and they're not, normal and stuff. And it's just not, to hear that, it sounds like it's a more vast. Yeah, it's very small, but yet to a hobbit it feels
huge,
large.
Well, unless we should probably maybe break down for people who don't know, hobbits are halflings. They're creatures that are 3.5 feet typically. Right. They've got bigger sized feet.
Yeah,
with
they do.
Like as much hair on their feet, on the tops of their feet, as we have on our heads. Curly hair usually, cherub-like, cute little things.
Yep.
So, and maybe it's farther because they have shorter legs.
Right.
Maybe the Shire's bigger that way.
Maybe. Yeah,
you don't know. I mean,
no, and they love they love things that grow.
Yes,
and they love to be in the earth, in holes, in a hobbit hole.
Yep. And they love good food. Right. Warm hearth. Yeah,
exactly.
Good stuff.
So here we go. Diving into some of the sweatiness of this. Frodo. I'm going to talk about Frodo's connection to Bilbo and how it's similar yet different. Gosh, hopefully I'm not jumping around all over the place here.
Do it, man. Get into it.
Okay?
Let's just dive in.
Because this kind of starts off where we're talking about we have to kind of move the story and shift it from Bilbo to Frodo. And these two characters are different, but yet they are similar. They have this, like when we first meet Bilbo in The Hobbit, we kind of have to go backwards a little bit and talk about that, just in how that he was your typical Hobbit. He, it was a very unexpected party and journey that he went on. And, it takes Gandalf sort of giving him the, boot out the door and stuff to get him going, right?
He's resistant to his adventure. Yeah.
And so when he comes back, he's very changed. And it's because of Gandalf that he, that he's interested now in adventure, and he's interested in the elves and the dwarves and writing and stories and the mountains and things like that. Frodo.
Didn't they say something Tookish woke up in him?
Yes, they did.
From his lineage. Yeah, the Tooks are notoriously more adventurous and magical. There's something weird with their lineage. They even mentioned
that in this chapter a little bit, actually.
They've got some elven blood in them or something, dude. I don't know.
Well, and I think that's why Gandalf, sought him out, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Which is cool. So
yeah.
But the idea here then is that Frodo is actually where he gets this love of adventure and long walks and storytelling and elvish language and stuff like that is from his Uncle Bilbo. So very, very different, I guess. So they're different in that respect, but they still have a common sort of love for it. They're a little more adventurous and things. Yeah. So one of those adventures is very unexpected, and then it's through Bilbo that it becomes a long expected adventure again, and then it's passed on to Frodo. So it's interesting.
It is very interesting.
So yeah, that's just sort of my connection between the two and to kind of bridge the two books, I guess. So what do you got?
I was just going to talk about the tone. I think it's so interesting how this chapter, it does a lot of things, but the thing it probably does most of all is it shows that this is going to be a very different story. So I imagine like people who read The Hobbit probably saw this, as a sequel to The Hobbit, got pretty excited and may have been a little bit shocked when they read this first chapter because it shows that this is a much broader world than just any like one. And we get that from The Hobbit, but it's pretty focused on Bilbo and how he experiences this adventure and everything. But this book and this chapter starts to like describe things in way deeper detail. So it's about more than just one character or group of characters. Like a lot of people probably came into it going, yeah, another maybe not saying lighthearted adventure, but another lighthearted adventure with Bilbo. He's going to be our main character again. We're going to go on another adventure. And what happens is Tolkien says, no, that's not what we're doing. This isn't Bilbo's story anymore. It's this story belongs to someone or something else. And so and he kind of in a tactful way, he destroys all those notions. So if you had no idea what the story was like coming into it and you had read The Hobbit, you're just going to be kind of blown away.
Well, what's interesting is he's very delicate in how he does it because you almost it's not that you have to read The Hobbit first, but if you do read The Hobbit first and you have this attachment to Bilbo, it's through Bilbo that we accept Frodo. And that we kind of see he loves and cares for Frodo and just was close to him and things like that. So we very quickly accept Frodo, and he is it's easier that way, right? If we don't quite know who Bilbo is, he also threads a needle here and does a really good job of the rumor mill and the storytelling about through the gaffer, which is really good. Then, so if you didn't quite get all of that in The Hobbit and you just jumped in here, you're still okay.
Catches you up over the past 60 years.
Right.
Yeah. And the implications of Bilbo's, or I guess what people are talking about after Bilbo's journey.
Right.
Yeah.
And you get it from a different point of view, which I think
it's brilliant. We wrote it down to talk about it. I think it's brilliant the way he gives that like third person perspective of Bilbo and Frodo. We have more on that later though, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
I want you to dig into that.
We do.
So yeah.
One thing that I want to, before we kind of jump into like even more of that, the storytelling and the rumor mill that we get with the gaffer, we thought of something. Lane actually thought of this. I just put it in blue. I don't know why I did, but Frodo's connection to Tolkien himself.
Yeah.
Right. Because we have to learn about Frodo, and we're at the Ivy Bush. Right. And we start to that's where we start to learn about Frodo.
On the Bywater Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as we do, as soon as you learn about some of these things, about Frodo, you can make a real good connection to Tolkien, you said.
Yeah. So Tolkien, like his parents died when he was young. I think his dad died first, and then his mother when he was like 4. So his parents were gone. Same happens to Frodo. He loses his parents, and his Uncle Bilbo adopts him, and so he goes and lives with him. Then Bilbo leaves. Tolkien had friends that he went to World War I with, and they all died. So there's this repeated building up of like really important people in their life, and then them just leaving over and over again. So that's one way they're definitely tied, and how that trauma affected them as they move forward.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I don't know if he was necessarily writing Frodo as having those similarities with himself. I don't know. I don't know if he did it intentionally or it just came out on its own.
Yeah, we could be making a connection that maybe he wasn't.
Yeah, he never even intended. Sure.
Yeah,
and maybe he didn't. Yeah. So, but that's something that we found that we thought was kind of interesting. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, what else you got here? So we got we talked about you got the ring here.
Yeah. So the ring, Tolkien sets a tone for this story. The Hobbit's all about adventure, and this is about this story is about destroying. We know that there's this huge evil presence, and that it's gonna have to be destroyed. Yeah. So hang on a second.
One thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, when you talk about the ring and the tone and all that stuff, I was reading an article not too long ago about how The Hobbit was intended to be more of like a child's book, and it makes sense actually when I think back on that. And again, that was the book that got me into the Middle Earth. It's a straightforward adventure. There's a dragon. It's magical. It doesn't seem like the world is ending.
Right.
And this is very much the world. Everyone is in peril.
Yeah.
It's not just the small company or whatever. It's much larger, and the stakes are higher.
Yep.
Which then kind of pushes in Tolkien's mind to like an adult book, right, or like an adult story more. Right.
Yeah.
Because he found
way heavier themes going on. Yeah.
Yeah. The interview I read where it was basically he had saw that like some, 10 to 11-year-olds were reading it and stuff. And he's kind of like, that's
okay. All right.
That's fine. But I'm not maybe what I intended.
Yeah. His audience isn't. Yeah. Right.
So I thought that was interesting. And I think you even see a difference in the setting in the Shire. It's a nice place to start this adventure. But even there, you start to kind of get to know more about these hobbits. And we will talk later about a gold curse and more drinking and more different things that happen to these hobbits, and it's interesting. You can tell that he intended it to be a little bit different.
Yeah. So,
but anyways, go ahead.
No, you're up. That next one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. We were just gonna dive into the rumors and the storytelling.
Let's do it. Let's talk. Let's go to the Ivy Bush. Let's hang out there for a bit.
So this is neat. This is an inn, the Ivy Bush, and it's kind of where we get all this storytelling. And you've got Ham Gamgee, the gaffer, at number 3 Bagshot Road, just below Bag End. I thought that was really cool. Those are the details I like.
Yeah,
I like that.
And on the There and Back Again, the Patreon series, you get to hear about number 3 Bagshot Road.
Right. Yeah,
because you can actually go to New Zealand and see the real Bagshot Road. I mean, Bag End's there too, but you go down the hill, and number 3 Bagshot Road is right there. It's so cool.
That's awesome.
It's so cool.
That is actually really cool. Yeah. It just gives you some extra details, and it sort of makes it feel more real. You know what I mean?
Dude.
It's enough detail, but then you're still left with room to imagine and things like that.
Absolutely.
So but he's telling a story there, and he is. I thought something that was funny is as they sort of each character that they introduce, they kind of give you some context to them and provide some characterization. And he's considered a leading authority on potatoes by all in the neighborhood, including himself.
That's right, dude.
So he also considers himself to be an authority on potatoes and other things.
Got to take pride in the spuds, right? If you know how to do it. Yeah, that's right, dude.
So I thought that was interesting. Let's see. I'm gonna jump down to my next part here.
Yeah, do it.
So at the Ivy Bush, you've got travelers from Mickle Delving. You got it's like a stranger, right? They never mention.
Yeah, they don't give his name. He's just a traveler. So he could be a hobbit.
That's what I was wondering.
He could not be.
Most
I guess
likely,
we need to do some research about Mickle Delving.
Yeah,
I think Mickle Delving is. I know it's part of the Shire,
right?
But I don't know.
It was the west.
It's way west.
Yeah. So I don't know, but he's listed as a stranger.
He is.
So I thought that was
probably Strider.
Wow,
it's probably Strider, dude.
Get out of here! That's ridiculous.
He's hanging out in bars, going, "I know about this Frodo guy."
Right.
All right.
So you have that traveler. You've got Ted Sandyman, the Miller.
Miller,
your favorite.
I hate him
character.
I don't like him, dude.
Yeah.
Negative Nancy. Get out of here, Teddy.
He is, and
run your
the
mill.
gaffer doesn't like him either.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like him.
That's
I
right.
think.
Straight
I
into
trust the gaffer.
Me too.
Nothing for it. It's not natural.
You've got old Noakes of Bywater. He's the one who kind of brings up Frodo, and then the gaffer gets into more talk about that. Don't forget Daddy Two Foot's there as well.
Can't forget Daddy 2 Feet.
I was so confused. I had to stop and go back, and when the gaffer says, "You're right, Dad," I'm like, "Who's he talking to?"
That's Sam's grandfather?
What's he
this?
talking about?
Oh.
So he's actually next door neighbor to the Gamgees, which is really kind of cool. They say that. I thought was interesting. Just again, the extra detail he brings up Buckland. So different people are there to bring up different areas of the Shire and different characters and things.
Yep.
So what's interesting is when they bring up Buckland, and it's important that we talk about it now.
Yeah. It's location.
It's location. Yeah. It being near the old forest. Makes it well, in their words, queer. It makes it very weird, and those folk are strange. And
you got the Brandywine River that separates Buckland from the old forest. They don't mess around with the old forest.
No, they don't.
They don't like it.
They don't
for good reason.
Exactly. Well, even
you love the old forest.
I love the old forest.
I just can't wait to get there, baby.
It's so
TB.
Mary is interesting when we get to the old forest.
For sure.
But yeah, so they bring that up, and because Frodo's mother is a Buckland, right? Or is what's
Brandy Buck?
Brandy Buck, thank you. Yeah. From Buckland, right? So, and I believe that's where he grew up, right? So that's where Frodo grows up, and he's there. And so then it's after like the death of his father
and mother drowned.
Yeah, that comes up in this conversation.
It does,
and
there's some suspicion around what happened there.
Yeah,
we don't really know. There's some cool fan theories. Do we want to talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean,
there is a fan theory that I don't know. I wish I could give it like credit to someone. No. We don't need to talk about that yet.
Should we not talk about it?
Well, we're not getting. Do we bring up that character yet? Let's leave it.
Let's leave it. Well, it's just interesting.
There's mysteries surrounding their death.
Right. I mean,
it wasn't natural.
Ted Sandyman believes that that she pushed him.
That's right.
Is it Drogo?
Drogo.
Yeah.
Father of Frodo.
Into the water, and that he pulled her in with him.
Right.
And
like they weren't exactly happy with each other. Kind of thing.
Yeah. That kind of
loveless marriage. Which I don't know.
Yeah.
You make that Shire dramedy, and then we know.
Well, and the gaffer doesn't like it because it turns it from an accident into murder.
Right.
And so he's
that puts Frodo in a bad light.
Yeah. He's like, I think he says something like, that pushing and pulling, just, Ted Sandyman, leave that out,
Yeah, that's right.
So he's kind of anti that.
But he defends the Bagginses.
He does.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Goes to bat for him.
Yeah.
He's somebody you want on your side too.
He is actually,
the gaffer, you want him on your side. He's a good dude.
He's a good guy. Yeah. And he's well respected by other hobbits there too. So which is cool.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on past that, he kind of goes into, he reveals that there's a struggle now. I mean, Frodo is then adopted by Bilbo, and there's this. He's now the heir to Bag End,
because before that, Bag End was going to pass from Bilbo, who was getting up in age, although he looked pretty much unchanged from 60 years prior. That's another thing we find out too, is has not aged. So from the time he went on his venture with the company of Thorin, he is no different.
They call him well preserved,
but unchanged. Is closer to the mark. And but the natural heir after him is Lobelia Sackville Baggins, who's like his cousin or something. We'd have to go to the family tree. It's all messed up. And she's pretty eager to get Bag End. Bilbo famously caught her trying to steal his spoons and all kinds of stuff. So she like yearns to be in Bag End. It's prime real estate, man. It's beautiful, and she wants it for her own. And so this Frodo gets adopted by Bilbo, and you almost gotta wonder, like, did he do that in part just to get at Lobelia? Did he say, "I like Frodo. I like him a lot, but is also going to really tick off Lobelia.
Maybe it was twofold.
Come live here.
I think more so.
If you know the character of Bilbo,
yeah,
it could be. But no, it is. Yeah. You're right. It's mostly, I think, because he loves the kid.
That's the icing on the cake, though, is that he gets to
cherry
make
on
him
top.
He gets to make Frodo his heir, and then bypass
it on. That's right, dude.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all brought up again by the gaffer there at the Ivy Bush, and it's actually the stranger from Mickle Delving that actually brings out the idea of gold and jewels, spelled Jool.
That's right. I love the spelling of
Jewel
that.
S.
Spilling out from the tunnels of Bag End.
Yeah.
Like he's got more than enough wealth.
Yeah.
Which is any of their business anyway. But no, they're hobbits. So.
No, it's not. There's an obsession, though, right, that's set in over Hobbiton about the gold and the diamond or the jewels and things that could be there.
Yeah.
And, Gaffer explains it that, when he saw him come back with those ponies, that he had those chests. He had
couple chests.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they've never really seen, he has more than enough money.
Right.
But he's also very, what's the word? He gives his money. I guess he's very generous with his money. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people kind of forgive him. It was like they forgive him that he's
yeah.
Right?
I think they even say that. I think they say that they forgive him of his queerness. That he's weird. He's a strange dude.
Right. And then the gaffer goes on to suggest this is where we bring in Samwise. His son would know more about that because he's up there kind of tending the gardens now,
and more about Frodo too. He said, Samwise is a friend of Frodo and has nothing bad to say about him, and that Frodo treats him well too. And
well, and he goes on to even characterize. I love the gaffer, and I love him being the storyteller here in the beginning, which is great.
It is just like
because I can picture him sitting around talking about this,
and we're spending a long time on this because
it's all right.
There's so much information here.
Yeah,
he unpacks so much stuff.
Does.
And that's why it took me 20 years to reread this section because you're trying to process all this stuff.
Yeah,
and you're learning about people from a third party, and then you're learning like 5 different opinions about the same thing, and it characterizes hobbits in that aspect. It shows you they love rumors and they love stories and they love mythology. It's great, dude.
I just thought of something. What's interesting is that they're very leery of strange things or queerness, but boy, they're
pretty damn attracted to it, aren't they?
Yeah, they love to talk about it and stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll always kind of bring it up in conversation and point it out. They love to point it out.
Right.
So they're paying
They're not
attention
innocent.
To it. Yeah. No, they're
those
not.
little hobbits.
They're not.
They know what they're doing.
So one thing I thought that was interesting in the characterization of Bilbo is that the gaffer goes on he praises him and he says that he helped Samwise learn his letters.
Yep, learned him his letters.
And very important, he says, meaning no harm, mark you, and I hope no harm will come of it.
Right.
What, learning his letters is going to cause harm and
see, that kind of shows like the whole British society thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the class system that they kind of had where, if you know too much, you read too much, that's not your place.
Right.
You're a humble gardener. You shouldn't be reading letters.
Yep.
Or, learning your letters and reading words.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get ideas.
You're right. It gives you an insight into their society and what he's trying
structure they have.
Because Tolkien's always kind of come out and said that this is supposed to be like the rule, England, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so
he created, this is a mythology that he created for England.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of their mythologies are either borrowed or hodgepodge from they're not originated in Britain.
Yeah.
It's stuff from the Normans or from the Saxons. It's not true to them. So he wanted to create something that was totally British. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. One thing you mentioned here, and I guess before we move on to the next section, is the idea of showing versus telling.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's his style.
I mean, we touched on that, and
did we? Okay.
But I love how he does that. He doesn't. One thing that Tolkien does, that I think a lot of people don't do. One, because it's hard, but two, because it takes a lot of trust. Is that he trusts his audience.
Mm-hmm.
He will present information and tell a story in such a way that he'll tell you everything you need to know and more, but he doesn't present it in a way like he thinks you're an imbecile. Right. He'll give you information in a respectful way, in a natural way, like you would learn it in a conversation in a pub.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. He doesn't say, Bilbo was this, and they were saying this about him.
Yeah, he doesn't directly characterize him.
No,
it's all indirect.
It is. It's like you see shadows and reflections of characters. It's like it's a very organic, natural way that you. I mean, that's how you. So if you plopped into the Shire right now before meeting Bilbo,
right,
you'd run into you'd go into a pub and run into people who knew him, and you'd hear stuff about him first. That's what happens to us. That's and right. he does that so well. He does it so well. And even though we're not meeting Bilbo for the first time. We're coming back to Bilbo after a long period of time.
Right.
It's the same kind of concept. And we haven't met Frodo yet. So this is how we're introduced to Frodo.
Right.
And it's just it's a brilliant way to rehash the last 6 decades that have passed.
Right. And
it's
this
brilliant.
and this is a little bit of a tangent, but one of your qualms with the Hobbit was that they didn't treat us that way.
Yeah. I think a lot of times I don't know. It seems like the longer movies are made and the more reboots and stuff they do, it seems like the more they try to spoon feed audiences, and you don't have to do it. And that's something that I actually love about The Last Jedi is they don't do that. They throw stuff at you, and they make allusions to things that you have to go look up afterwards, or you have to have seen the previous films to know. But they don't do it in a way that disrespects you as a fan.
Right.
If you're not a fan, you because that's the thing. If you're not a fan, you go, well, what's that? Well, I'll go look it up.
Right.
And if you are a fan, you go, yeah, I like how they did that. That makes sense.
Yeah, they don't insult your intelligence, and they
because really, when they do that, it almost kind of insults not only your intelligence but your fandom. It's like, bro, I watched Lord of the Rings. I don't need you to tell me who Aragorn is. Like, then that Legolas is going to meet him. Like, come on. Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of bitter over.
No, it's okay. I just think it was when you brought that up. I thought back to we've had conversations about the Hobbit,
and Tolkien doesn't do that, and that's why I love him so much.
Yeah.
He knows you're a smart person, or an inquisitive person, or both, and that you're going to figure it out. And it I don't know. It's great.
Yeah, it is.
It's cool to be trusted by an author like that.
That's why he is, revered.
Best.
Yeah, the
best.
Amazing. So at the end of this little ivy bush scene here, we kind of talk about Frodo going and being adopted by Bilbo in his tweens. I'm thinking 2021, right? Because
the coming of age, right? Isn't that when hobbits come of age?
Well,
it's
33.
So, but their tweens are kind of like their teenage.
Sort of their kind of rebellious years. Yeah,
they mess around. Yeah.
Right, because we're going to move into our next sort of the second fourth of this chapter, which is the party planning, and Gandalf arrives, and this is sort of 12 years later after. So Frodo's been there 12 years. He's now turning 33. Bilbo got him when he was 99. Bilbo's turning 111. So it's the party we are prepping for. I didn't put together actually until this very last time that I was on the way here and I was listening to it again, is that when you put that 111 and 33 together, it equals a gross. And I didn't get that. I was like,
I got it until just now. Yeah,
that's why he wanted that number, and it was
that's totally why
significant.
Dude, he was so clever.
Because so it's for Frodo and him together. Yeah, so really cool. I'm going to talk about the first week of September. So we get into this party planning. It's the first week of September. Several dwarves arrive. They're odd looking. They got an odd looking wagon. They're singing some odd songs, and the phrase there is outlandish. Yeah. And again, there's some really beautiful alliteration that Tolkien uses there, and it's really cool how that he does it a lot, doesn't he? In his writings and things. So.
Very poetic.
Yeah.
The way he explains things, and it's beautiful.
So I thought that was interesting. Just the idea that more strange folk are showing up at Bag End, and it's just sort of getting
the myth's just growing, right?
Yeah,
it's the legend is just getting taller. It's getting.
It's like they had 60 years of kind of like peaceful times, and all of a sudden this is all coming back.
Yeah,
I was like, what's going on? He's had birthdays before, but why is this such a big deal?
Yeah. So Tolkien describes it as the finest September ever, which is kind of cool because I think we can all picture just the beauty of September, right? Summer's kind of winding down. It's still warm, but fall's on the horizon. I can just envision like crystal clear.
Mm-hmm, wow.
That's that too. Right. Crystal clear blue skies.
Yeah.
Some of the leaves are starting to change a little bit, but they're still bright and green, and you've got perfect weather, right? like low 70s. I mean, it's just the perfect time for a party, man.
Yeah.
The finest September around.
Right.
And that's cool. It puts you in a nice space. I think it puts you in a comfortable spot, which is important because you're getting ready to enjoy a good party.
Right.
So Gandalf and the dwarves come. Ezra already mentioned that. They're probably, I mean, I guess we can kind of surmise that they're members of Thorin's company, though we're not given that directly. We're given clues, but we're not told exactly who. So we know that they're coming back into the story. We know that they're either probably dwarves that he adventured with before, that were part of the company, Thorin's company, or they're relations to them, right? That's the only way he would know dwarves,
right?
Unless they randomly came into, he bumped into them in the Shire, which is less likely. So, but it's interesting too that Tolkien doesn't say it was Bomber and Biffer and Buffer. It was Dwalin,
right?
And I can't think of another one of them. Yeah, one of their names, whatever. One of the it's not one from Thorin's company. Yeah, because again, it's another message he's sending that this isn't about Bilbo's journey. This isn't about this isn't his story anymore. It's we're moving on from that. So it's not important who these dwarves were. Yeah, it's important that they came because they're connected to Bilbo, but it's not important who they were. We're not worried about dwarves right now.
It just shows that he's kept up relations and ties.
That's also true.
Which is cool. Yeah. But he doesn't need to go into great detail as to all of those different things. It's again one of those stories that you leave sort of unfinished and untold. And you leave it open to our imagination and trust that we're going to imagine something pretty cool.
And the only dwarf really involved in this adventure to any like great extent is Gimli. So I think that kind of also is there to sort of back him as like the representative, because the Fellowship is cool. It's got representatives from every race and every culture. Yeah. And so Gimli's going to be the focus for the dwarven race. It doesn't matter who these guys are.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right, that's cool. Now on to the second week of September.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Let's do it.
Gandalf arrives. My good friend.
The Wandering Wizard.
I love him.
Old graybeard.
Yep. He arrives with his fireworks. I'm just going to read a little quick description of him that I think was kind of neat. He wore a tall, pointed blue hat, a long gray cloak, and a silver scarf. Because I was thinking about, there's a lot of color references in here. That he mentions a lot of colors, and there's a lot of imagery that we see in this chapter. And I think that's really neat. We get the sights, the smells, the sounds, and things like that. And it's really awesome. Yeah. He had a long white beard and bushy eyebrows that stuck out beyond the brim of his hat. That paints a different picture in your mind of maybe what you had, seen in the film, right? Yeah. It's cool. This guy's a rough, looking guy.
Interesting dude for sure.
But it's word choice and association that I think are important here. As he's outside there with his fireworks, there's kids running around. They kind of talk about, we haven't seen fireworks from Gandalf in over a century. So only the oldest in the Shire kind of really remember.
That's true,
and can tell those tales about how cool that was. Yeah, and they use the word that says that he disappeared into Bag End.
I love that you found this. This is so cool.
Right? Isn't that cool? He disappeared in there. It wasn't that he just went inside and he hid away or whatever. Right. Yeah, it wasn't, but he disappeared. Yeah. So we have a ring that can make you disappear. Gandalf himself just kind of disappears in The Hobbit several times. Yeah. And multiple times throughout this chapter, he uses the word disappeared. Yeah. Or disappears, or what have you.
He's setting up the
Frodo says it later on when he wants to disappear. Yeah, right. It's just like it's interesting. It's that word choice is so important, and it makes you appreciate every line of this story to kind of see things. That's why we want to do a deeper look at this and take it chapter by chapter, because then you can get in there and appreciate things like that.
And I guess really the story is all about like the disappearance of evil. Trying to make evil disappear. Wow. I mean, there's all kinds of connections you can draw, dude. That's brilliant. Yeah. Well done, my friend. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. So something I want to talk about real quick. In the middle of page 25, there's this, it's relatively short for Tolkien, but something he's known for is his description. So I'm just going to read it. Should I do it in an accent?
Yeah, read it. Yeah, read it in the accent. Let's go. All right. Get in it.
Inside Bag End, Bilbo and Gandalf were sitting at the open window of a small room looking out west onto the garden. The late afternoon was bright and peaceful. The flowers glowed red and golden. snapdragons and sunflowers, and nasturtiums trailing all over the turf walls and peeping in at the round windows.
Wow.
Just beautiful. Like, beautiful language.
Well,
so,
personification there.
yeah.
Peeping in
Right.
through the round windows. Right.
Even the flowers are alive in Bag End.
Yes, they
right?
are.
I mean, I guess plants are alive anyway, but they're
Yes,
like, they've got
yes, they
characteristics. So he was like known for like describing stuff sometimes like ad nauseum, just too much description. But that's one thing I love about Tolkien, because those descriptions, they allow you to stay in a place longer. They allow you to feel like you've been there. Like, you really understand these like places he's created, that he's pouring that much. This dude knew what he was doing. He's pouring that much detail into something. I don't know, like, he gets kind of jokey later on. There are some descriptions of like hills and trees that just go on and on. But it's almost always with nature.
Uh-huh.
Tolkien valued nature. He valued what it did for us. He valued that. It's interconnectedness with us, and it's just awesome. It's awesome to hear him describe this stuff. Puts you right in the spot. You can envision it.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like you're in the middle of that garden.
Well, I think it's significant. It's intentional. I think he picks and chooses, kind of like a director when you have deleted scenes and things.
Yeah.
I bet you there were descriptions and stuff that he kind of said, I'll pull some of that out.
For sure.
And he's then using an intentional description of this garden, because Samwise is going to tend it later.
Right.
And they've tended it for years.
And really,
it's important to them.
Yeah.
It also is it contrasts where they go later and the scenery that we see later on. And it has to be beautiful, and it has to be memorable, because we will remember and think back on the Shire later. And that's what's
the
key.
reason we're fighting. Mm-hmm.
So, if they're referring to a really bland place that's not really that attractive to us, you've got to spend a lot of time here to make it a place we want to return to.
Totally.
And so we're about to go on a really long journey, and you got to think back to home. Home is what keeps them going sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
So
Beautiful.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
So I like that. Another thing, as we get into this, Gandalf he's disappearing in there. We've got the description of the gardens around Bag End. As soon as we get in there and we see the meeting between Gandalf and Bilbo, you can tell that they have been communicating for the past 60 years.
Mm-hmm. So
we don't need to know everything that was said, but basically, Bilbo reveals that he intends to take a holiday.
Yep.
And that he's feeling like, he's ready for his party, but boy, he means to take a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And Gandalf says, so you mean to go through with it?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that right there, that line does enough for me to say they've been communicating and talking for years. They're good friends, and he's well known at Bag End.
Yep.
And very well welcomed. So I thought that was kind of neat. I think that's important for us to, again, tie back in the Hobbit, make the connection over here to the Lord of the Rings or the Fellowship now. Yep. And and the fact that Gandalf is in the know here too is going to help later on when we talk about Frodo and what Frodo needs to know. Yeah. So Gandalf is sort of the overseer.
He's a bridge, isn't he?
He's a bridge. He keeps everything kind of connected. Mm-hmm. He helps this third person omniscient storytelling in a great way, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Which is cool. Yeah. But not in what's interesting is that Gandalf keeps a lot to himself too, though.
Oh yeah,
which is kind of cool, right? And you don't always get. I thought that was one of the things with the Hobbit. You got too much of where he went, what he knows, and all that kind of stuff. He intentionally keeps that from the hobbits, and just gives it to him little by little as we go throughout our journey.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
he's very very secretive, isn't he?
Yeah. So I don't know. Anything else there in that whole idea of, planning the party and Gandalf arriving and things like that?
No, that was good. I liked how you talked about the grumblings about dealing locally.
Yeah,
that was great. That was great.
Yeah,
he's bringing in all the foreign stuff, quote unquote, right. And then after that, how he. Well,
it's marked by it's everything's marked. It says it's coming from Dale.
Yeah,
and so all these hobbits
another nice Hobbit reference.
Yeah, which is great. Which also tells me that maybe Bilbo hasn't quite explored the rest of the Middle Earth. He's just very much knows the Lonely Mountain
where he's been.
Yeah, the King Under the Hill and things like that. So, or King Under the Mountain, and so that was neat. But there's some grumblings about dealing locally. And then the very next line is that then they went and they kind of bought out all the shops and stuff with all the
stores
food.
were empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So whether Bilbo you had brought this up, whether he responded to those grumblings by buying all the foods there or, guys, he's just getting a lot of gifts and presents and stuff from.
Like he always intended to get stuff from.
Yes.
Yeah. Local sources.
You're just grumbling because you saw that come in first, and that's
building
typical.
drama. That's what they do best.
Yeah.
Those hobbits.
Well, it's strange. It's strange, and they don't quite understand what's going on.
That's right. They feel
They're
offended. They feel offended too,
but they're also a little curious. They're always they're so interested.
They're right. Yeah.
But yet, it's strange and queer if they are interested too.
Right.
Can't be too interested.
You can't win.
No, you can't.
No. Damned if you do, or if you don't.
That's right. Well, there's another one. Lots of imports coming in and lots of invitations going out. Something I didn't mention here is the Hobbiton Post and the Bywater Post are just overrun.
Snowed under, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so much. They had to get a volunteer to come in there and run some of the.
So and that's another little cool thing that you learn is like they have a post office.
I know.
Right? I mean, it's cool. I think that later there's mention in Bag End, it's either this chapter or the next, about a clock. So it's all this weird 20th century stuff mixed in with medieval. It's such a cool, weird.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
I love it. Yep.
So I thought that was neat. And people, I thought was, he's inviting, there's even some talk that, he's inviting all these different people, basically the whole Shire. And someone mentions that even those who aren't invited are probably going to show
the rest
up.
of them are coming anyway.
Yeah. So, all right. Now we get into the long expected party. Mm-hmm. This is a party that has been long coming.
Yep.
And so here we are. Something cool that you need to know about birthdays and parties, and you guys who had read along with us know this. Hobbits give presents to other people on their birthdays. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be great?
It's pretty cool.
Wouldn't it be great if we did that around here?
I think that would be, way better. Because really, what did you do on your birthday?
Well, the odds of me getting a gift would definitely go up, right?
Well, that's what they say. They say like everyone, there's so many birthdays in the Shire, you get a gift about once a week.
Yeah.
Right? And I think too, like, what did you do on the day you were born? I mean, you didn't do any of the work. Your mom did. Right? So why do we get presents on our birthday?
Yeah, exactly.
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Right. I think the Hobbits got it right.
They do. They got it right.
Yeah.
It's actually really cool. What's neat is later on they say that Bilbo saved a lot of those because there's regifting. Right?
Yeah.
He actually saved a lot of the gifts that he got.
Some Seinfeld leaks in here.
Yeah.
You're a regifter.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he actually gives more intricate, better gifts and doesn't
thoughtful. They're more thoughtful too.
Doesn't regift like he maybe could.
That's right.
So
what a generous man Bilbo is.
So Bilbo's gifts are great.
Hobbit.
Did you catch this part? They're also magical.
Yeah.
Did you read that line where it was like some of the kids got gifts that were magical?
Yeah.
Does that mean they were magical because they were great, or were they actually magical?
Yeah, I wonder. Like, were they just so different from what they've had that it seemed like magic, or did they have magical properties to them? Or
was it something that was maybe just a technology that the Shire folk weren't used to?
Right.
That seemed magical.
Right.
Yeah.
I
thought it was kind of cool.
Great. I don't know.
It was kind of neat that he was giving those out.
Yeah.
He's giving those out, and then he's hightailing it out of here. He's like, have fun.
Right. Yeah. See you later, kids.
So yeah, the gifts were so great that the kids actually forgot to eat. Come on now, for a Hobbit to forget
to eat, it's got to be a pretty good toy.
It's got to be pretty. It's right,
pretty good.
Because you mentioned early on when you were describing hobbits, that's very important. And food.
They love food.
All the different. You got
ales and pipeweed too, but food is.
Right.
I mean, how many meals do they have?
Wow.
Breakfast, second breakfast.
Right. 11sies.
Afternoon tea. Luncheon, dinner, supper.
Right.
A lot of meals.
Filling
up the corners.
Absolutely. So there's all those different types of meals. And actually at this party, I think they said it starts from like 11sies.
They eat all day.
On. Yeah. And so they started with lunch, tea, and then dinner / supper. Mm-hmm. So those, again, more little details. Again, I think that's neat that we get those details as to what they had, and we get to kind of hear about this party.
Yep.
It's just very comforting. It's a great place to start a story.
And like you said too, it gives you a frame, like a reference. So because I guess reading this, you don't know where this adventure is going to go. You don't know how dark it's going to get.
Right.
But when it gets really dark, you can remember back to, this is the reason we're fighting to defend this place.
Yeah. When they talk about their pipeweed, and they talk about their the food and things like that. It's a little comic relief later on in dark times.
Yeah, totally.
Lambus bread and things that are just kind of ridiculous. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And they make fireworks to be a really big deal. And I think back to maybe during his time, maybe during Tolkien's time, the idea that maybe a fireworks show was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like they're hard to make, or they're really expensive, or what have you. And it was saved for really special celebrations.
Well, for sure. And I guess we have to look, when did fireworks like become available globally?
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
They're an ancient Chinese thing,
right?
But I wonder when. I don't know.
But still,
during imperialization, maybe, I don't know.
And I wonder how many. I don't really know his culture where he grew up. In Great Britain, like whether they have, like we have 4th of July,
right?
Every year we're shooting off fireworks. So I don't know if that's something that they do over there a lot, or if it's saved for special occasions.
Right.
So interesting. I also thought it was really cool. And I'm going to list the names of the fireworks. It's a little bit kind of like why, but I just think they're cool because this is something.
I'll give you a sound effect for each one.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so types of fireworks. We have squibs.
Squib.
Oh my god. Crackers. Backer wrappers. Sparklers. Torches. Dwarf candles. Elf fountains. Goblin barkers. And thunderclaps. We're gonna have to turn the audio down on that language. Did
I get all red?
It was great.
Oh,
you're red the whole time.
I'm all red.
It's probably like unusable.
Red on you.
It's like unusable audio now.
Should we record it again?
No, we're not recording. No, it's great actually. Okay. But I thought that was neat because in Harry Potter, one thing that oh god, I've just slipped her name.
Ranger.
Roland's. What's her name?
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, thank you. I gotta remember her name.
Swish and flick, folks. Catch it on, man.
Yeah. But she mentioned like those details about like the types of candy that they have and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was kind of neat, and that's honestly for her. I think that's a throwback to little things like this that he did here. You know.
Yeah.
Those are little tiny details that are kind of cool. You know?
That stick.
I want a dwarf candle, and I want elf fountains.
I'll give you one on my birthday. I'm going to give you one on my birthday.
Please do. I would love to.
Dwarf candle. Yeah. Dwarf candle and a elf goblin.
I made a little Texas Self connection. I loved when I would get together with like my cousins for, different events and stuff. And we were the family who shot off illegal fireworks. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Where'd you get them from, Ez?
I didn't actually get them. My cousins always got them.
But they brought them from where?
Out of state.
From what state?
I don't know.
Kentucky? West
No, probably.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Because those were illegal in Ohio for a long time.
They were illegal. That's right.
What a joke.
Well, I know, and but it was a big deal that we got them, right?
So we're like,
we're in some backfield, like sneaking in some fireworks. It was ridiculous. But that just kind of brought back this excitement.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
These kids are so excited to see this show, and Gandalf is I don't know. They say his fireworks he gets better at his craft with age.
Yeah,
I was like, well, that's kind of cool.
Pretty cool.
He's super old. So.
And the smog reference too.
Yeah,
with the dragon firework that comes back over the party field.
Yep, the signal for supper.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit about that. So we're at the party. I didn't have a whole lot of things down here about the speech and the joke, but we'll talk about that. Okay. Yeah. Before we get to that, this party, what's interesting is the significance of gross, and it's not typically associated with people. So gross would represent 12 dozen. Or 144, and that's how many people were selected to go to like a separate under the pavilion supper with Bilbo to listen to his speech. There was still a party going on out and around that, which I thought was really, really cool, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different people there, and there's dancing, singing, and what have you. But when they get to supper, a special number, that 144, a gross, shows up under the pavilion, and you have, again, that's a combination of Frodo's age and Bilbo's age.
That's
right. I thought that was really cool. So family members, you probably know these by heart, don't you? What were some of the?
Oh man, I do, but like when you put me on the spot like that with those accents too, I kind of buckle under the pressure of this microphone. I'll read it to you though. Okay. He says, "My dear Bagginses and Boffins, my dear Tukes and Brandybucks, Grubbs, Chubbs, Burrowses, Hornblowers, and Bulgers, Brace Girdles, Good Bodies, Brockhouses, and Proudfoots."
Mm-hmm.
No, proud feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is shadowed by an elderly Proudfoot.
Right. Mhm.
So those are the families that are present there.
Right. And some of them, they're all like, they're either closely related or distantly related to Bilbo. I thought that was pretty neat.
It's
so
also
those are some of his family.
Yeah. It's also funny too how he like makes a special greeting to the Sackville Bagginses.
I know.
He's such an a-hole. Dude.
I know. It's great.
I love that about he's a smart ass is really what he is.
Well,
he says,
they deserve it. So they're just
they
I don't
do.
know.
They do. But it's great. He's not afraid to throw a barb. I love it. He says, also my good Sackville Bagginses that I welcome back at last to Bag End. Oh, ouch. That you're never going to get.
Yeah, back at last.
That's right. Today is my 111th birthday. I am 111 today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah. And he goes on here. I think it's interesting again where you can kind of say that he might be a bit of an a-hole.
Yeah, dude.
You know, where he says, I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve.
Which, what does that mean? They're still trying to figure that out.
They are. They're still, well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
is that it's supposed to be this compliment,
Right.
or is it a compliment? And you just quite can't understand it. It's very complicated, and that in itself is an insult.
And we forgot to mention, too, that Bilbo loves riddles.
Yes.
It's actually how he acquired the ring.
Good point. Very good point.
So this is a bit of a riddle. We're not sure, is it and the hobbits are sitting there like, what? Was that a compliment?
Right.
Did you just insult us? They don't know what to do.
Right.
They don't know if they should clap or cheer or jeer. Like, they don't know what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So it's just another throwback to him being fond of riddles and brain teasers and stuff like that. So
right.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little bit more reading here, and then we're going to talk about something that really cool that Gandalf does here at the end of this, and the significance sort of behind it. So thirdly and finally, he said, I wish to make an announcement. He spoke this last word so loudly and suddenly that everyone sat up who still could. I regret to announce that, though, as I said, 111 years is far too short a time to spend among you. This is the end. I am going. I am leaving now. Goodbye.
3 times. He says goodbye 3 times.
I know.
I'm leaving. I'm going now.
Right.
Goodbye.
Oh, man. He steps down off the chair and
Such
he
a
vanishes.
showman. Yeah.
You know, he's gone. But when he vanishes, it's not what we're used to in
the films.
In the films or in the Hobbit. So, which is interesting. They kind of describe how he would vanish. Mm-hmm. And this, we add a nice white, bright light, which is provided blinding light. Right. Yeah. By Gandalf.
Yeah.
So now why, Lane? Why is he adding that in there? Because later on, Bilbo's like trying to spoil my joke.
That's right. Well, dude, you put it perfectly.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
I don't remember. So let me
what you said is it's to kind of to throw anyone off the trail. So if anyone's kind of sniffing around and thinking this Bilbo guy is kind of interesting,
right?
If there's any dark servant there, I mean, because there could be a dark servant there. You don't know.
Stranger from Mickle Delving.
That's right. Yeah. Who thinks the One Ring's lost? That's a characteristic of the One Ring, to put it on and disappear. It's to throw him off a little bit, to show that, maybe Bilbo disappearing, it was all that Gandalf's fault.
Right.
Like, we knew it was up to no good. Maybe that was Gandalf killing Bilbo. Maybe it had nothing to do with Bilbo. So it puts the emphasis back on Gandalf instead of it on Bilbo, and possibly Bilbo having the possession of something.
So he's protecting Bilbo.
He is protecting Bilbo, which he always does.
Right. And he knows hobbits. He knows them better than they know themselves, which is what he says in The Hobbit.
Yes, he does.
And he knows their histories. He knows that they're going to gossip about this little event, and he knew that he had to make sure, because there'll be some truth in all eventually. As telephone things get kind of like there's multiple rumors and things going on, but there'll be some truth there for people to find later.
Right.
So he's got to make this even more.
He's got to build a legend, doesn't he?
Yeah. And there was this flash of light and stuff, and make it seem more like a trick.
It's awesome.
So I think it's important that he does that.
He had the foresight of Gandalf, man. Like, he knew what he was doing.
I mean, maybe then that rumor does not reach the ears of the enemy as soon as maybe it would have.
Yes.
Perhaps. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm just saying maybe that's why they have to resort to getting wasn't going to mention his name. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Gollum. He's there. But anyways, so I told you I wouldn't be able to not go make the connections. But I thought that was interesting, and it just shows how much he cares, and we're going to see that here just a little bit with Frodo and Bilbo, and him kind of taking charge here and saying, I don't know what the heck's going on yet,
right?
But something has sort of been disturbing me for years, and I gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
And actually, it really doesn't come to a head here until right after this moment,
right
when they go back up to Bag End.
He goes back, and Bilbo has this cool little montage. He goes and he gets his gear for. He's back in Bag End, right? And he's getting his gear to set out on his adventure, and Gandalf kind of catches him. They have a conversation, and it gets pretty heated. It gets pretty heated pretty fast. As you have some stuff that you want to read from this?
Well, let's see here. Basically, from what I remember, I have to find it really quick here, but it's the idea. It's all about whether we're going to leave that ring or if we're going to take the ring.
Yeah. And so before we go to specifics about what's said between the two, this is kind of like, this would be, I think if you're a diehard Bilbo fan, this would be really hard. This next scene is really hard.
Yeah.
Because really what you're doing is you're showing how your beloved character from The Hobbit and the adventure in The Hobbit is deteriorating.
Yeah.
Like he is not the same hero that you, much like, hey, like to use something relevant, The Last Jedi, right? We come back to Luke and we find that Luke is not the hero we left.
Right.
Bilbo is not the hero that we left. Like he's being like eaten away on the inside. And so it really comes out here. And we see it like in his interactions with Gandalf. Go ahead, man.
Right, yeah. So, Bilbo is saying, in an envelope, if you must know, talking about where the ring is.
Yeah.
Bilbo said impatiently, there on the mantelpiece.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Here it is in my pocket.
So given Gandalf attitude and then realizing he's not even telling the truth.
Yeah. And then he hesitates. He goes, isn't that odd now?
Yeah.
So even he quite doesn't grasp what's happening.
Who has control over Bilbo?
Exactly.
That's the question.
Yep. It seems like there's a struggle for control of will here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Which is interesting. So Gandalf looked again very hard at Bilbo, and there was a gleam in his eyes. I think, Bilbo, he said quietly, I should leave it behind. Don't you want to? He said, yeah, anyways. He's basically saying that he wants Bilbo to leave that ring behind, and isn't that a good idea, right? And Bilbo says, well, yes and no. Now it comes to it, I don't like parting with it at all, I may say, and I don't really see why I should. Why do you want me to? He asked. And his tone starts to really change.
Curious change came up. I had the underline. I wanted to read that
did
too.
You? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, just the point that says a curious change came over his voice. Like it was sharp with suspicion and annoyance. Like this is something, you never see him talk to Gandalf this way. This is like a huge shift in character. He is seriously disturbed at the thought of leaving this ring behind, and he's pinning it all on Gandalf. He's like, dude, like this. If I'm angry, if he eventually goes on to say, if I'm angry, it's your fault. It's almost like a teenager rebelling against his father or mother, right? It's like, I'm acting weird, but it's because of you. Yeah, and so it's very uncomfortable because we haven't seen him do this before, and we're starting to see, we don't know exactly why yet, but we know we've starting to get the inclination this ring is not a good thing. Right, exactly. And actually something that might, that I don't want to get missed here is the alluding back to the Battle of the Five Armies when Gandalf confronts him about this ring. Right. And he basically says, how you, what's he say here? How he badgered him, back on the journey about the ring. Yeah. And he's like, now you're still badgering me here. You know? Yeah. And Gandalf says it's important to get to the truth of this, because he wasn't telling the truth back in The Hobbit about this, which was very uncharacteristic. Even then. Yeah. It's a very un-Bilbo like thing to do. So I love too how he says, like if he wouldn't have taken it, Gollum would have killed him. And he said, this is just hilarious because it's a little bit of humor that is thrown in here. He says, I'm not a thief, whatever he said, talking about Gollum calling him a thief. Yeah. And Gandalf says, I've never called you one. Right? I've never called you a thief. Maybe a burglar. Right. But never a thief. Right. Yes. It's funny. And so it's funny. It's funny looking in a serious moment. Context. Right. But it's also Gandalf reassuring him. Look, he's saying like, dude, I don't think you stole it from Gollum. I'm not saying you're a thief. But what he's saying is that you need to be rid of it now. Like, I don't care how you came by it, and I don't think you did it with bad intentions, but the ring should not be yours any longer. Yeah. It gets deep right here. It does, because then dark. Right. Bilbo basically now then kind of realizes, he goes, I'm sorry, I felt so queer. And yet
it would be a relief in a way not to be bothered with it anymore. It has been so growing on my mind lately. Sometimes I have felt like it was an eye looking at me.
Yeah.
And this is where we have to kind of stop and talk a little bit more about, we had a discussion, Lane and I did, before we started this podcast about, yes, Bilbo has this itch that he needs to scratch, which is to go out into the wild again, to see the mountains, and to see the elves and dwarves, and just to go on an adventure, take a holiday, right? So that's already there. But I believe, and this is just sort of what I'm taking from what I'm reading, is that the ring, being its own character, is sort of stoking that fire or that urge to want to go on this journey.
And dude, this is cool how we saw the same thing, but we saw it. So when I talked about before how you see the scope, you see the breadth of the situation, and I go in and I pick up, like, I find minutia.
Yeah.
Just like that's where my mind goes, that's where your mind goes. So you saw the whole like desire for him to go on this adventure again, possibly being the ring's manipulation of him for the ring to be found again, right? It's more likely going to be found him out wandering in the woods and the forests than it is if he just, or the mountains, misty mountains, all that stuff, than if he just stays in Bag End in the Shire.
Right.
And then he later says, I tried to lock it up in a box.
Yeah.
It was driving me crazy, but it drove me even crazier when it was in the box.
Yeah.
I couldn't leave it locked up. It drove me so mad that I had to take it out and put it in my pocket.
Right.
So is that Bilbo's obsession, or is that the ring's manipulation of his mind to, hey, because like it's even less likely to be found in a box. Right. So, hey, take me out of the box, make yourself feel better, put me in your pocket.
Yep.
And maybe eventually there'll be a hole that wears away in that pocket.
Yep.
Or you'll fall down and I'll roll out and I'll be one step closer to being found.
Yeah, it's waiting for that opportunity,
right?
To like it did with Isildur, and to betray in a sense, right? Sorry, jumped right in.
No, that's all right.
But I mean, that's
jumping back actually. So
jumping back, yeah, you're right. So, and so this is interesting,
and it kind of establishes the ring as a character.
Yes,
I think before it was just this little treasure that we found, this little token that he won from Gollum. Right. And it shows that this is something that is alive and has intentions, and is tied to someone much darker. You know
what I don't know, and someone who's listening who's an Uber fan will probably know this. You can leave it in the comments. Is did Tolkien, did he know that when he was writing The Hobbit? Yeah.
Well, no.
Okay.
What I've heard is he actually, the original version of The Hobbit, the riddles in the dark chapter was much different.
Okay.
It was much more lighthearted. It wasn't as I think he changed Gollum much more. So Gollum was more like, he lost it and it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
After he wrote the Fellowship, or after he wrote the Lord of the Rings, he went back and rewrote that chapter, Riddles in the Dark.
Okay.
And he made it a much bigger deal when Gollum lost the ring. He said, I think he threatens to eat Bilbo. He says, I'm going to eat you, give me my ring back.
Yeah.
So he made it much more menacing and sort of put that threat in, because he didn't necessarily know, where he was going in The Hobbit. And I'm sure there's more to it than that, but he did go back and restructure Riddles in the Dark and put more emphasis on the ring being a negative influence.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is that because it disturbs Gandalf in a way that's like, it's like right there, right here. This it harkens back to that.
Yeah.
When he's talking about how much he bothered him on the journey.
Yeah.
About this simple ring, this magical ring. So did he? The thing was, did he see that far ahead?
Right.
And say this was going to be the one ring? It's like, wow. If he did, amazing. Even if he came up with that idea later to go back and only change a couple things, if he had to do that to make this work, it's still brilliant. It's
amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
It is. So anyways, eventually Gandalf is able to convince him to, he's able to get him to say, yeah, it's fine. You're right. The ring should go to Frodo. And he's like, great call, Gandalf. Starts walking towards the door.
You've still got the ring in your pocket.
Right.
Said the wizard. Nice try.
I mean, it was, but again, maybe in his mind of in one part of his mind, he is he is being manipulated, and he is. like he'll eventually, after that part, he goes to put the ring on the mantelpiece along with his will and everything.
Right.
And when he does that, it falls.
Yeah.
And he has to go pick it up. And that's when Gandalf snatches it and puts it up on the mantelpiece.
Right.
And he gets this nasty look comes over his face. And then it quickly is relieved.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And dude, it's cool. We have to talk about Gollum a little bit.
That's fine.
Because that shows like that instant nastiness and then that relief that comes after. It's like the whole Smeagol Gollum thing or Gollum Smeagol.
Uh-huh.
You're almost like a Jekyll Hyde type persona,
right?
Where you have the duality of man.
Yeah.
You've got a good side, you've got a bad side,
right?
And the ring tries to manipulate that
and bring out that dark side as much as it can.
That's right, dude.
It does.
I mean, and really what it does is what the ring is trying to do also is threaten his relationship with Gandalf. And I think also maybe the ring might be trying to get into Gandalf's hands.
Oh boy, yeah.
Because if Gandalf were a weaker wizard,
right. Absolutely,
like someone else we might meet eventually.
That's right.
What that would be a safer place for him to have for the ring to be than with Bilbo.
But House, and I think is it with the conversation? Is this a movieism or with Frodo? Does he talk about how he doesn't want don't give it to me, the ring?
Yeah. I think that happens. Shadow of the Past maybe coming up here.
Oh,
yeah,
oopsie.
Yeah.
Oopsie. Yep.
But it's interesting in the movie.
Right.
Gandalf won't
next chapter
touch it. He never touches it.
That's right.
Here we see that he snatches
it's
it
in
up.
an envelope,
Right. But he goes, bends to. So if you're in this part in the movie, he's reaching down to pick it up, and that eye flashes, and he doesn't actually physically touch the ring.
That's right.
Which is a cool cinematic way to show the importance Gandalf puts on.
Right.
Yeah, on actually being in possession of the ring. So.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
So,
dude.
Yeah, so much there. So, and we're not even. What's great about this chapter is so much happens there in those conversations, right?
Yeah.
And we're just now at the part where the road goes ever on.
That's right, man.
And we get a little happy moment here where Bilbo is kind of like ready to go on his holiday.
Yeah.
And he's going in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Old age will catch up with him, but the ring is gone, and it's not that burden is gone.
Yeah.
He's a ring bearer.
Right.
And so, man, I got like chills just like saying that.
Yeah.
But like, he goes on his little adventure.
Yep.
And it's just so great. And he's singing a song as he goes, and it's
he just kind of disappears.
It's a beautiful disappears.
They talk about that, and the dwarves go with him.
They do.
Yeah, the 3 dwarves accompany him, which is cool.
And then so from there, we're still the second part to this last fourth is poor Frodo cleaning up the mess, right? And having to clean this whole thing up. So this Lane really likes this part. It's Frodo passing out Bilbo's gifts.
Oh, the gifts are hilarious,
right?
Just more of his humor and his like double meanings and what he does, and so he leaves Frodo to pass these out, which I'm sure would make the recipients even more frustrated, which is probably partially why he did it as well. Had Frodo hand them out. So you want me to read these?
Yeah. Go ahead and read it. Actually, before just real quick, because I don't want somebody to say that we missed something.
We don't want to miss anything.
Frodo comes in right after that.
Yes,
where Bilbo leaves, and I kind of forgot that part or whatever. And
he has
the
to
famous line.
He has to clean up the mess at the party too first. Remember that? He's got to finish up tie up all the loose ends with the party, but
he's ready to move.
Frodo,
he's ready to move on. He orders like more wine for people, and
and he's like, I'm going back. And he also knew about Bilbo's trick.
He did.
So in the movies, that's something that's different. He's kind of surprised when he disappears, but in the
he's enjoying it. He's enjoying seeing the expressions.
Yeah, he sees. He's like, this is pretty cool. Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad I knew about.
It's something interesting when that trick happens is that some of the tooks most were, but there were some. It makes a reference that some weren't all that taken aback by it and thought it was interesting, right?
Typical.
So anyways, the line that I love is when Gandalf is talking about how the ring should go to Frodo, and so Gandalf warns him. He said, "I should not make use of it if I were you, but keep it secret and keep it safe."
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so that's the kind of the cool piece. And then we get into this piece that we're talking about now, which is Frodo going back to pass out Bilbo's gifts.
He's kind of going through bagging. This is the next day, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's distributing these gifts that Bilbo instructed him to give out. So Dora Baggins, he gifts her a wastebasket because she wrote undesirable letters full of advice, unwanted advice
for years. Yeah.
And so he gives her a wastebasket. I'd love to have seen the expression on her face.
Right.
Milo Burrows, who never responded to letters, he was given a gold pen and an ink bottle.
Yep.
Hugo Bracegirdle, he gave him an empty bookshelf because he was always latent in returning his books that were given to him to borrow. Never actually returned them. So not latent, just never giving them back. And then Lobelia Sackville Baggins.
Yeah.
He saved the best for last.
Yeah.
And gave her some silver spoons.
Right.
Which he caught her trying to make off with once from back in.
And she figures out right away.
She's so disgusted.
Here. Yeah.
It's like one final spit in. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Spit in her face.
It absolutely is.
And
then so the rest of this, not that it's insignificant, but basically is Frodo and Merry kind of, they're cleaning up the party, and then they're just keeping people out of Bag End. Like they'll turn their back, and 1 second a couple little hobbits will slip in there, and they're pounding on one of the the walls trying to, they heard an echo, and they're trying to find
the tunnels of gold,
some gold or whatever. And you mentioned like the curse of gold that has kind of come over, maybe in a sense, because again it was something that affected the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain, right? And how that can kind of poison your mind. And so the idea that it's sitting up there on the hill causes people to gossip and rumor about it, but then maybe do an un-Hobbit-like thing, which is to sneak into somebody's house, going around the rooms and try to find all this treasure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was very just didn't seem like a very polite thing to do.
No.
And I thought they were a little bit consumed by that.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Which is, again, something that good hobbits shouldn't do, but they're doing.
Right.
The obsession over it. Dude, I got to take a break real quick.
Okay.
What do you think? I mean, from the story, I think we should make a Lord of the Rings podcast.
Yeah.
You think that's something we should get into?
Yeah, dude, let's do it. Yeah, I can't.
We've got, you know what though? We've got to get the name. We've got to get the name just right.
Yep.
You want to brainstorm a little bit? What do you think?
I mean, if I were to brainstorm a name, Middle Earth Malarkey, is that?
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty good name.
Crick Hollow Cottage.
I like Crick Hollow. It's the alliteration. Yep,
Okay.
I like it.
All right.
Freebeard.
Oh, that would look great as a podcast title. What about Queer Lodgings?
Definitely like Queer Lodgings.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of my more favorites. Yeah. But we're getting close. We'll get
there. Maybe one of these days we'll start a Lord of the Rings podcast.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll start one.
I thought it was interesting how Frodo was like, so as he's handing these gifts out, and as he's catching hobbits knocking on his walls, he's fidgeting in his pocket.
Absolutely, already
fidgeting with his pocket. Again, it's demonstrating the power of the ring, the control it has over whoever possesses it or it possesses. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So let's see. Does
we talk about when Gandalf leaves?
Yeah, we need to talk about when he leaves here, but because he stayed the night, right?
He hung out.
Yeah. So he hung out there.
They both found it interesting. They talk about how Bilbo altered his truth about finding the ring. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, that was because Gandalf is kind of telling him, the ring is yours, and giving him guidance on how not to use it and things like that. And he basically wants to see how much Frodo knows. And Frodo kind of reveals, he's like, and Gandalf's like, do you know the true story? Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, not the story in the books or the story that he told to the dwarves, right? Yeah. He goes, I know the true story because Bilbo said there should be no secrets between us. Gandalf knows it, so what's it matter? I need to tell my heir and closest relative, right?
Very interesting.
And Frodo thought that was interesting that he would distort the truth. It's very unlike Bilbo.
Yeah, that's right. And that he uses the term present.
Yes.
And that Gollum also used the term present.
Right.
To describe the ring. Very interesting.
Right. So, Frodo says, I don't understand. And Gandalf says, neither do I. I have merely begun to wonder about the ring, especially since last night, which is seeing again Bilbo in a very uncharacteristic state, like just the way he was acting and snapping back, but then being remorseful and like, Gandalf, you're a good friend. I've always trusted you and stuff, So
hot and cold. The two parts of Bilbo.
So he says, at least I beg you not to use it in any way that will cause talk or rouse suspicion.
Yeah.
I say again, keep it safe and keep it secret. So,
and don't we love how he says when he leaves, "Expect me when you see me."
oh my God.
Gandalf likes riddles too.
Uh-huh.
And he also knows I think he doesn't shy away from how mysterious he is.
Yeah.
He knows he comes and goes. He knows he's a free spirit, dude. Like, try to keep an appointment with Gandalf. Good luck. Right. He has no planner. He's not sitting down, I'm going to pencil you in for 9 a.m.
Yeah. No.
Gandalf's like, you'll see me when you see me.
But that's really neat, I think, is that as things arise, he responds. And it's almost like this idea that the future and things are ever in motion, right? Yeah. And so you're always kind of this way and that way. And
a wizard is never late.
Right.
Nor is he early. Mm-hmm. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. And at the end here, he says, look out for me, especially at unlikely times.
Yeah.
I just thought it fits in.
It's so funny.
It's what's so cool. And one of the things that they did in The Hobbit with an unexpected party, and what they do here with the long expected party, is the idea. There's a lot of different words. Even if it doesn't say expected and unexpected, it says, at unlikely times. Yeah. Or expect me when you see me. He
played with words so well. Like, he was such a little wordsmith, dude. And
yeah, absolutely.
So we have a couple cool connections to. It's interesting to think about the ring as a birthday present, right? So Smeagol Gollum, when he comes in possession of the ring, he took the ring on his birthday.
Yeah,
but Bilbo gave it up on his birthday, which also kind of follows the custom of giving gifts on your birthday as a hobbit. So that's something that Smeagol broke, because he was also a hobbit-like creature. He broke that custom and took it and was overcome with greed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bilbo was feeling thin and stretched and not himself and eaten away on the inside. And even despite all that, I mean, it obviously took Gandalf's help as well.
For sure. Yeah.
But he was able to overcome that, and he gave it up. And I think that's important too, because later on, there's more comparisons drawn between Bilbo and Smeagol or Gollum. Mm-hmm. And it's important. I think that's a pivotal moment that might get overlooked. That really shows that they are different. Mm-hmm. They're very different. And that even, just because you're from the same group of people, and even though hobbits are, like you brought up, hobbits are very resistant to the power of the ring.
Yeah.
But even within that race, there are individuals who are not.
Right.
And individuals who are exceptional. Mm-hmm. Yep. So cool little thing to think about.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Absolutely.
The opening pages of this, obviously, excellently crafted with suspense and drama. They suck you in, dude. That's why we talked about it for, 3 hours now we're going on?
I feel like
podcasting.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I can't stop.
Dude, you can't. You get, this first chapter is beautiful. It's why, like, this part of the films is my favorite.
Yeah.
It just, there's so much build up. And mystery and intrigue, and you want to learn more. It's great. I think the film does a really good job of tying in, like, a lot of exact lines from this part of the book, and also capturing, like, the mood and the spirit of this first part of the
it does, and it changes a couple things, but not to the point where it's really distorted anything at all. And
it doesn't take you out of, it doesn't jolt you out of the story at all.
Because this is an important part that they just, that they could not leave out. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome. Is that the end of chapter 1?
That is the end of chapter 1,
Holy
man.
cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was epic. I love. Wow. It honestly will go down as one of my, because I've been reading way ahead, and again this is a reread. But as I go back through this so far, this is like my favorite chapter, man. I was
going to ask where this ranks.
This is up there. We're gonna have to do a ranking at some point.
I know. I think it's mine too. Yeah. Like, you could spend forever on this, dude. Here again, you're that far ahead. Scope. And it took me forever to get through this minutia. Yeah.
All right.
That was awesome.
Cool.
I probably won't do any more English accents on the spot unless.
Let us know what you thought of. Let us know what you thought of Lane's accent.
Yeah, it's usually pretty good though, isn't it? That was bad.
Normally it's pretty good.
Normally good. Wow. Okay.
No, it's fine. Yeah. We're gonna jump into what we call like our bywater post, and so if you have something that you want to, if you have questions, if you want us just to answer a few of those, or if you want to share your story, your Tolkien story, your Middle Earth story, how you got into it, please, either private message us on Facebook or at Up Talking Tolkien, or you can send us an email at anunexpectedpod@gmail.com, and we're going to read those. So this is just a place where we kind of talk about you guys a little bit and how you're influencing the show, and your questions there also will be things that when we get into chapter 2, we'll talk about it. We're also going to do a recap in the next episode of chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do that recap, if there are things that you guys noticed or you thought we should have spent more time on or got wrong, or an interesting connection, we want you to leave that in our thread on Facebook.
Yep.
Let us know, and we will definitely go back and make sure we reference you and throw your thoughts out there, because it's, again, about building that community and sharing in this experience.
Yeah.
Right?
And that recap will only be about 3 hours.
It'll be a 3 hour
It'll be
recap.
condensed from this. So, but we want to thank you guys in just, wow, like our first, so at this time, we'll have been like a couple weeks old, but our first many meetings just came out a couple days ago.
Right.
And from when we're recording this, and already we've had tons of positive comments, people reaching out to us, telling us they liked the first episode. They can't wait for the reread.
Right.
So we want to thank you all for all of your positive support. But not only thinking it and feeling it, but sharing it with us too. That makes us feel just fantastic. We've got a few. You want me to go ahead and read these reviews?
Yeah, review. Yeah.
So we've got a couple of reviews that we want to shout out from iTunes, and then also just comments people have left us that we wanted to share, and we want to thank you for sharing your voice with us. So we have 3 reviews on iTunes. I'm just going to read one of them. It's titled An Unexpected Joy. Ez and Lane have excellent chemistry and a passion for all things Tolkien. Can't wait for more episodes diving deeper into Middle-earth. A podcast I didn't know I needed in my life that has brought unexpected joy.
Same here.
Yeah, me
podcast
too.
that I didn't know that I needed in my life
too.
But I am so glad that it's happening, that we're doing it.
You had
and
me
that
at hello, baby.
along for the ride. I mean, that was the whole idea behind An Unexpected Podcast.
Yeah.
Unexpected but necessary.
That's right. Look for me when you least expect me.
Right.
Right. So we also have some comments from Facebook. Megan Petrus said she was listening now. We said, thank you. She said, I've always loved Lord of the Rings. And loved? Wow.
Maybe.
I've always enjoyed Lord of the Rings, but this is a reason to start reading. Thanks for making it. And she put a little heart there. So thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan. I really appreciate that. And
That's awesome.
It's well, here's something. We had talked about wanting people to enjoy or getting people back into just reading it.
Yeah.
That's great to see that we have people already who just want to read it with us.
Yeah.
It's great.
Get that book read, baby. It's amazing. So I have a buddy, Kawhi Moku. He left a little comment for us. He actually texted me this message. It was really great. He said, hey, man, just wanted to let you know that your podcast is amazing. Well, he said it, not us.
Easy now.
You and Ezra have such passion when you speak. Once I started the podcast, I was so engaged that I couldn't turn it off. Wow. I'll be honest. I haven't read any of the books or watched any of the movies, but I'm looking forward to listening to you two in the fortnight to come. So Kawhi, thank you for that. I actually call him Moku all the time. Moku, thank you for that amazing comment. That makes us feel good. And we're excited that you are ready to go.
Yeah. My question is, he didn't turn it off, but did he turn it down?
Oh, well, there weren't any sound effects in that first one.
Okay. Well, okay. Good call.
Yeah, I got you. Then we've got some more comments on Facebook. Really nice stuff. Jessica Baziuk. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. I'm going to call you Jessica B. Jessie B.
Wow.
Woohoo, I'm there, she said. Hannah Taylor, following you now.
Oh my God, those are 2 really cool swishers.
You go.
I just in my head, I talk with them in Swish and Flick group, and
perfect,
cool peeps coming from Swish and Flick. So
they hopped on the Hogwarts Express and got off at the Shire.
I guess, yeah.
Is that the train?
That is. Good job.
Good, okay. Are you starting with the Hobbit or the Fellowship? Sorry, we didn't reply. We're obviously starting with the Fellowship.
Right.
And then Emily Rose Varno said, we'll definitely be listening to this. I've never read Lord of the Rings, but I have it and have wanted to for some time. Mm-hmm. And she said, I'm so excited. !
Sweet. Also, Nicole Whitaker listening now and excited to follow along, read with you guys. Let's do this. Thanks for doing it. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for hitting us up and liking us on Facebook. It really does help. And it means a lot. It's nice to know that people want to listen and want to do the reread with us.
And we want to hear we want to hear feedback too.
Yeah.
So tell us things you liked, things you didn't like, accents you liked, accents you think we should drop, sound effects that are good, ramblings that we should cut back a little bit. There's one more too. Quad Girl 06 gave us 5 stars on iTunes for a rating. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been many years since I've read Tolkien's works. Ellipses. Let's do this.
Let's go.
So people are excited. And we are too.
Yep.
I don't know what else to say.
No, that's all there is to it, man. That's great. I think the Bywater post is good, and we want that to turn into more of. That was just the initial comments that we had. It's all we really had. Yeah. We would love for that to be more about you guys. Send us your story. Tell us how you got into this. Yeah. Tell us how you got into reading. If this is your first time ever being in it, then just let's talk about that. Let's talk about your excitement being in Middle Earth and maybe. Where you want to go. Yeah. So Lane's making faces at me.
Oh, come on, dude. Selling me out.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's do strawberries with cream.
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of like a little segment we're going to talk about. We'll develop this more.
It's quick.
But it's just, quick little stuff that we wish for from Middle Earth. It can be comical, unrealistic, or it can be very realistic.
Okay.
So we kind of have a theme, Dreamcasts for the show.
The upcoming show.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, dude, this is clear that we're like in love with
Star Wars.
Go ahead and give yours, bro.
I'm sorry.
Give yours.
I saw yours. Daisy Ridley as like
she would be an
awesome elf.
Awesome elf.
Any type of elf.
She'd be a great elf.
She'd be so cool. She already swings that lightsaber around and she kind of
got the accent down. I think she's American, isn't she?
No.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I was just saying.
Okay.
She's actually what's his name? Ridley Scott's daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
So her as an elf, who would you have as a quote unquote old queen, you said here?
Oh, yeah. Maggie Smith just.
She is an old queen.
Yeah, she's great.
She'd be great. We don't see a lot of queen. Dude, that's the thing about Lord of the Rings.
I know.
It's pretty masculine heavy.
Yeah.
But there are so many strong female characters. And I think that the show, and the movies did a great job of that too. They did an awesome job. They highlighted Eowyn, Arwen. They even created characters like Tariel and The Hobbit to bring some strong women characters into it. Mm-hmm. But I think the show is going to be huge for that too.
Yep.
So
agreed.
I've got a couple. One of them could actually happen. The other one is impossible because he's dead, unfortunately. Rip. Mm-hmm. But I'm obsessed with Adam Driver.
Come on.
I think Adam Driver is one of the most bizarre, strange, intriguing, and amazing human beings that have ever been. Like this is going to sound so weird, dude.
It's okay.
But like his mannerisms and his approach to acting is fascinating. I could watch him like chop onions, I think, and be like, dude, he deserves an Oscar.
Well, and be like, what is he thinking?
Right. Like, wow, he's so brooding. What is he?
Right.
Is he for the light side? Is he for the dark side? And I think he'd be you could put him in Middle Earth. He'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So he would be cool. I think he's probably too big for a Lord of the Rings show, but let's keep our fingers and hairy toes crossed.
Okay.
Alan Rickman is my other one.
Yeah.
He's dead. But how cool would he have been in
great.
Lord of the Rings
Absolutely
or the TV show?
Right.
Music is a huge part of those movies.
Yes.
Howard Shore created incredible music for those movies. I'm interested to see, do they incorporate some of those in this TV show? Do they incorporate some of those themes? Do they go a whole different direction? And I'm kind of open for a whole new direction.
Really?
I don't think I want too many of the themes to be repeated and overdone, because sometimes it keeps you in that box.
Right. It does. Good call.
And I think we need to expand it. Let's hear someone else's interpretation of how the world of Tolkien should sound musically.
You're not thinking like techno music or anything, right? Yeah.
I mean, if there's a Hobbit rave going on, get those hairy feet pound.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Let's go.
I would also love to see. This is just kind of another little strawberries with cream. I know we've gone over a minute. I'm sorry, but dude, I think we need a spinoff series. I think we need a TV show that explores the hidden romance of Gimli and Galadriel. You know it happened. You know it went down. You know that those two had some sweet, sweet moments together.
Wow.
Celeborn doesn't know, I don't think. But you could make a whole spinoff. 50 Shades of Galadriel.
Holy smokes,
something
man.
like that. I don't know, dude. But I think that's an untapped market. Let us know. Let us know if you'd be interested in seeing the love story unfold between Gimli and Galadriel. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's best left for like DeviantArt or something. I don't know. But or some fan fiction. But
hey, yeah, write up some fan fiction on that.
I wish you guys could see Ezra's face right now.
Losing my mind.
Notes. He looks scared.
Oh, okay. Goodness. All right, that's cool, man. That's pretty much the show there. We're going to do a quick we got a little share the load.
Share the load.
Where we talk about, we put a little plug in here very quickly, very briefly. We're going to mention our Patreon page. You can go to patreon.com /an unexpected podcast. I think that's what it is. Or Up Talkin' Tolkien. One of the two. Crap.
Yeah.
Didn't have it down there. My bad.
They'll find it.
We'll put the link in the description.
Yep.
But basically there you can listen to our series that we're doing right now. It's There and Back Again, Chapter 1. Green Hill Country is going to be up. Well, yeah, it will be up by the time that this podcast airs for sure.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
And actually, it's going to be one of those things that kind of like during the fortnight, every fortnight we're doing the reread. In between those, on a Sunday is when we'll upload some stuff to Patreon. So you guys should check that out. We'll also upload our outline there and what have you. Each month, we're also doing, Lane is doing some illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to work on how getting those turned into prints, perhaps, and sending those out to you guys for being in a particular tier. I don't know which one yet.
The first couple have already been shared on Facebook.
Yeah.
So if you saw the illustration of Aragorn, and if you saw that beautiful illustration of Ezra, I think it's pretty cool. But
where's my staff?
Those are going to be the first.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know. What sounds like a question I can't really answer there. Where's my staff?
Oh my Lord!
Ooh,
that's
boy.
a game we play after hours.
Yeah, it's in the cloak, my friend.
Okay.
Those will be. I think we're going to try and make prints of those and send those to patrons. So yeah. So if you like that, and they won't all be in that style, they'll be different stuff, inspirational. And Ezra had the great idea, maybe even pertaining to the chapter we're on. So I'll work throughout the book and kind of
settings and landscapes.
Yeah,
not to put too much pressure on you, but
thanks. That's
no problem.
Alan
last plug for social media. Just hit us up on Facebook or Instagram. Lane is playing foots with me now under the table.
Dude, not even.
What is wrong with you?
What
is wrong with you? We're trying to finish and wrap this podcast up, man.
3 hours later.
No, hit us up on Instagram at Up Talkin' Tolkien or Facebook, same thing. Up Talkin' Tolkien. Leave your stories there. Leave your comments about this episode and what have you. Okay. Yeah. Take us away there, Lane.
We're going to do our fortnight farewells here. Wow. Our fortnight farewells here. That's kind of hard to say.
It's great.
We want to thank you for stepping off the road with us. Means a lot to us going on this adventure together. Our next episode, we'll be digging deep into chapter 2, Shadows of the Past. If you thought the end of this chapter was dark, it's going to get a whole lot darker, my friends. You want to read this next part, Ez?
Yeah, if you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, or leave a comment, or send us a Shadowfax.
That's right. We'll see you in a fortnight, guys, and remember, Frodo lives.
Dude.
Is that longer than Return of the King itself? Is that like 4 hours and 20 minutes?